again, the question, the second element of the question had to do with the locker room bill. And I guess one of the most compelling accounts that I read came from a party who had experienced something very different. And this is not about, this bill is not about homosexuals or anything as was implied. But take, for example, the 16-year-old girl who's been victim of sexual assault and who frankly doesn't trust males, and all of a sudden sees a male in the dressing room next to her. This has happened, and in the case that I read, the person was experienced an overwhelming horror. She was flooded with all sorts of emotions. She felt anxiety. I can't imagine that. We're simply trying to go back to the time when the designation on the door meant that was who it was appropriate for. So I guess I just want to reassure you that there's nothing that speaks to the issue of homosexuality in that bill. It speaks only to the blurring of the lines between between sexes, between biological sexes. It's also, I guess, one of the other questions that was asked of me by one of my friends is, do you really think that my 13-year-old daughter should have to dress in the same locker room as an 18-year-old boy? And, that was last year when this all became an issue, when the High School Activities Association adopted their new policy. And again, this does not speak specifically to their policy, but one element of their policy. And that is how we're going to treat the bathroom and locker room situations.
Let me give some history to this. In 2014, the United States Department of Education came out with a new guideline, not a new law, a new guideline. In other words, a bureaucrat said, this is what we're going to do. It said, under Title IX, a recipient generally must treat transgender students consistent with their gender identity. And let me give you the history. There is your sex, which is, we know what that means. Gender is what you decide you are. And I'm not, it's just a decision. Today I'm a male, and I got decisions to make. Anyway, so I Googled this last night. And so what's coming down from the federal government is you've got to ask people or deal with people and say, what sex are you? And or what gender are you? And they answer you, and then that determines how you treat them, which is a locker room experience. So I Googled that idea. And in Seattle 3 days ago, at a swimming pool, public swimming pool, a gentleman walked in and took off his clothes in the women's locker room. And you can Google that. Google Seattle gender locker room. And that happened 3 days ago. And they called the police. And he said, well, I'm within my legal rights. And no arrest was made. And he came back, I think the next day or later that day, and did it again. And no arrest was made. So, and he's saying, well, I'm standing with Title IX. Title IX says I can do this. And so in South Dakota, the school districts may be faced with that possibility. The federal government's got a position. Their position is, if I claim I'm a girl, I can go to the girls' locker room and undress, and vice versa. The school district can fight the battle, or the state can. And we made a decision the state's going to fight the battle. And it's not a choice whether there's a battle, the question is who fights the battle. And so we, the state legislators, said, and we're not judging people, we're not criticizing them, we're just saying that we don't want a boy to say his gender is female and head towards the women's locker room. What the bill actually says is really kind and gentle, and it's catching 1,000 times more heat than it deserves. It says, boys go to the boys' bathroom, or locker room, girls go to the girls' locker room, and if that isn't comfortable because you've got other decisions in your life, your gender is a transgender, then go talk to the administration and have them try to make it the best they can for you. Special, or not, reasonable accommodations, which means if there's a third bathroom, let's go use the third bathroom, but I don't think having boys undressing in the girls' bathroom is the appropriate answer, so that's what's my vote.